Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. This exciting CHOP challenge that ACF Harrisburg Chapter has been doing this full year, and Chef Patty will be talking about it a little bit more where this came from, but we're excited to be part of this program and excited to be hosting this. And we hope that you all get a lot out of this. I know there's some really great dishes coming up. So with that, I'm going to pass this over to you, Autumn, and take it away.
Thank you, Hope, and certainly welcome to you all. My name is Chef Autumn Patty. I am the program director at HACC for our Culinary and Baking and Pastry Arts programs. I also am the current president for the American Culinary Federation Harrisburg Chapter. And like many of you viewers tonight, you've been on Zoom, and we have been meeting on Zoom ever since the pandemic started. And we were really looking for something to bring life to our meetings. Each month, we wanted something a little bit different, something that would make it exciting, and we all wanted to join in. So we went to our students. Our chapter is made up over 50% of our student population. So we went to that group and we said, what do you want to learn? What is something that would be exciting for you? And our student representative on the board, Rasheeda Carter, who actually is one of the participants this month that stepped up to take on her own challenge that she conceptualized with the students. Let's take not only just some ingredients and put them together on a plate, but really teach us how you did that. Show us how you created this artistic display on a plate, not just here it is, but what was the thought process along it? And we have found over the year here, everyone is learning, and no matter what level you're at. We've had participants from around the world even. It's really something that has grown. And again, I really want to give credit to Rasheeda for conceptualizing it. And a great part of this is the students are actually coming up with the ingredients every single challenge that we have. And this month, we have our ingredients, and Hope, I don't know if we want to, there we go. Here's our ingredients for this month, coming to you from Cumberland Perry Area Career and Technology Center. Chef Bobby Miller and his students came together and picked 4 ingredients this month that they wanted to see how these different participants put together on one plate. So we have a beef sirloin, we have sweet potatoes, we have chocolate, and we have daikon, which most may not be familiar with. It's a radish. So putting all these ingredients together, I know my thoughts were at first, and then I'm thinking, well, maybe I can make a burger with some, sweet potato fries and something. I have no idea. I was really glad I wasn't part of the challenge, but I'm anxious to see, and that's exactly what we're here tonight, how these 4 individuals took these ingredients in some fashion. So chocolate, think of there's many different forms of chocolate that you could use. So I'm anxious to see. And let's move on to the next slide here and see who our 4 participants are for this challenge. We have Rasheeda Carter. Again, Rasheeda is our student representative on the board for the ACF Harrisburg. She's also a culinary and pastry arts student at HACC, as well as majoring in business studies and hospitality management. Then we have Chef John Fabian. He is a sous chef, more particularly the chef de partie at the Hilton Harrisburg. Thank you for joining us, Chef. We have Chef Claire Dacko, who is the culinary arts instructor at Dauphin County Technical School. It's awesome to have you on board as well. And joining us just in a little bit, we'll have Brandon Mullins, who is the cook at the Hotel Hershey. More importantly and more specifically, he's part of the culinary team at the circular dining room at the Hotel Hershey. Also, again, one of our ACF members volunteered, stepped up to take on this challenge here. So what we want to do tonight, feel free to add questions into the chat as we go along. We want to interact and reveal each of these dishes, see how each of these chefs put together, or what was their initial reaction to these ingredients, how they conceptualized, what components to put together, how they made them, what flavors they used, and then how they put it together on a plate. I want to know what it tasted like. What would you have done better? I'm going to try and ask questions, but the chat's open. Please make sure you ask them as well, and I'll interject as we go. So let's start with Rasheeda Carter. Rasheeda, again, is our student representative as well as a current HACC student, and she put together, let me ask you, Rasheeda. So our next slide will show some ingredients and what you did. So before we get to that, Hope, Rasheeda, tell me, what was your initial thoughts when you saw these 4 ingredients? You've already volunteered to do this, take on the challenge. What was your thoughts when you saw these ingredients? And just make sure.
My my initial thoughts kind of were the chocolate part of it. You know, most time when you think of chocolate, you want to think of baking or something sweet. So it was like I had to kind of focus my thoughts on what I was going to do with the chocolate. And but then when I saw the Daikon, um, I've had the chance to live in Japan, so I was like, okay, so maybe I do a lot of, you know, Asian cooking, so I said that's the route I'll go. And most of the time when I make steak, my kids always want the steak sauce. So then that's when I came up with using the chocolate in like a sauce. So then that's what I finally figured out and did.
What about the sweet potato? That was the fourth ingredient I haven't heard yet.
Had like a slaw at first that I wanted to kind of do, but then I had the daikon. So then I said I could use that in a to help a salad type. So then I went with a sweet potato risotto. With that arborio rice, I've been using it a lot at home. So my kids were like, you know, so I figured, okay, risotto, but so that's what I did with the sweet potato.
So it sounds like your kids really inspired you. You were trying to make something that your family would enjoy.
Yes, because when I do the chop challenges, they're going to be my tasters. So it's like if I make this, someone has to eat it, so it doesn't, you know, go to waste. So I kind of did take inspiration. I thought they're going to eat this, so this is what we're going to have for dinner. So I had to make it something that they would actually enjoy too.
Awesome. Well, let's see. Let's see what you did, what your components were, and you can. Wow, that's a lot of ingredients.
It is a lot of ingredients, and that's what I said as I was putting out there. But then when I thought of most of the ingredients went into the chocolate barbecue sauce that I ended up making. So it seems like a lot, but the barbecue sauce needed a lot of different ingredients and it needed time.
Okay, so walk us through your different components and like this sauce pot full of liquid at the top. What is that?
The sauce is the chocolate barbecue sauce. So that started out with some onion, bell pepper. There was a lot of other seasonings, and then I used two types of chocolate. I used the cocoa powder, and then I also used some dark chocolate in there because I didn't want it to be too sweet. So once I added all those ingredients, I let that kind of simmer because it had to go for a while to be, you know, and then for my steak, it was just Chinese 5-spice. I figured there's a lot of different seasonings in that, and I thought that could bring out some flavor. So that's I kept that simple because of the sauce that I was thinking the sauce would go on it. So I did keep that simple. So I just seared it in the pan, and the long part was my risotto, because risotto takes forever and my kids were getting impatient, but I told them as soon as it's done, it'll be ready. The only picture that's not there is of my Daikon Brussels sprout salad. So what I did there, I took the Daikon and I sliced it really thin and I marinated it in some rice wine vinegar, a little sugar, some soy sauce, and I let those flavors come out for a little bit, and then I took the Daikon Brussels sprout and I put it all together, and then as a garnish for the salad, I did pomegranate seeds and some bacon to kind of make it a little brighter there for the kids to enjoy it. So they did like the salad, so I thought that was nice. It was, you know, fresh vegetables that, you know, kids and vegetables sometimes, but then that sweet potato, I got to throw it into the risotto, so it didn't look like sweet potato. So they did really good with it and they enjoyed it.
Okay, awesome. And just so you know, in the chat already, we have a woo, like the invitation for the final plates already building. All right, so you got your sirloin steak, sweet potatoes, the daikon, and then also the chocolate. And quick question, I know nobody piped in, but you said you didn't want to make your sauce too sweet. So why dark chocolate?
The dark chocolate basically has no sugar. So in the sauce, there was a little bit of maple syrup, and then I used the cocoa powder to help make it not so sweet. But you could definitely taste the chocolate. And you could taste there was chocolate in that sauce. And it went over well with them. I thought they were just going to say, no, I just want some steak sauce. But the sauce went over well. I had some left over. And the next day, they put it on some, I can't even remember what they put it on. I think there were some chicken wings or something, but they still ate it. So I was impressed and I was glad that the sauce turned out well.
Okay, so if someone wanted to use just like chocolate chips that they happen to have, that's a semi-sweet. So maybe reducing the amount of other maple syrup or sweeteners that they use in that.
Right.
Okay, awesome. All right, so are you ready for the reveal? Anything else you want to add in the thought process beforehand?
No.
Okay, all right, let's see your finished plate here. I'm going to mimic the chat. Ooh. Tell us about your plate here.
So when I plated it, I thought about the colors because I realized the steak and then the sauce was a little dark. So I made sure I wanted it to be off of the orange and yellow from the sweet potato risotto, and then the green from the salad and the pomegranates. I thought would help bring brightness to the plate because steak is brown, and then my sauce was brown. So I wanted to make sure there was a lot of color added.
What herb did you use as the garnish there on the top?
The herbs that are on top are rosemary, sage, and parsley, and they were all incorporated in the risotto.
Awesome.
I had some of that in the risotto, so then I figured I would use that on top.
Now, I know a question you always ask, Rasheeda, is why did you plate it that way?
Honestly, I plated it that way because I wanted to make sure that it looked colorful, and then that you could still see what was in it and not just kind of like, how at home we kind of just put our stuff on a plate. So knowing that I had to present it, I wanted to make sure that you could see the colors and it just wasn't a blob of food.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome. I absolutely. We have it looks delicious. The chocolate sauce sounds amazing. A whole lot of woos and wows. Sorry, I was stuck in the woos. Wows, that looks awesome. Awesome. If anyone else has questions for Rasheeda, feel free to put them in the chat here. And we can certainly circle back at the end. Rasheeda, what was this challenge like for you? You conceptualized this. So now to actually take it on and be live in a webinar presenting it, I don't know if you ever thought you would be at this point when you came up with this idea, but how did it go for you? Would you do anything different? What's your overall take?
My overall take is it does make you be a little more creative and to have a deeper thought process. As a parent, I like Brussels sprouts just roasted, but to say my kids, are they going to really eat these Brussels sprouts? So a lot of my cooking does come from what my children are going to eat. So I think about that a lot. And I just want to make sure that it's something that's enjoyable. And then they'll say, Mom, can we have it again? Or even get their input, because sometimes it's like, instead of using that, could we try this next time? So I like that. And again, it just, you have a steak, but like, did you want just steak and potatoes? So this gets you thinking, because a simple process for me would have just been a baked sweet potato, but I was like, that's not impressive. So it makes you think, and then it makes you also think about flavors and how they would go together.
It sounds like the challenge challenged you. It elevated what you wanted to show.
Yes.
And you did awesome. Definitely a big round of applause to you. That looks awesome. Thank you so much, Rasheeda. We'll circle back at the end here again with any other questions. Again, phenomenal job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to our next participant. And we have Chef John Fabian from the Hilton Harrisburg. Chef, how did you take these 4 ingredients? Well, what was your reaction when you heard you needed to use all 4 of these ingredients in one dish?
I was like, oh boy, thank God there's chocolate. I was really excited about that. Other than that, though, as soon as I heard about it, my heart went straight to Mexican or Spanish cuisine. It's just a weird oddball mix mash to see in the same pile. So I was actually pretty excited about it, to be honest with you. Told him, do I have the opportunity to bring chocolate into the entree-y savory world of everything?
So initial reaction. So then what was your first step? Like, okay, so where do you start with putting your plate together? I know you said you went more to the Mexican route. What was pulling you there, and what was your next step as to I want to make this?
Honestly, whenever it comes to these things, I usually go for the hardest ingredient, and it's always usually the sauce component for me. So I just put chocolate in that category. And one of my personal favorites of all time is mole. I always grew up in like a really, really ethnic area of Pittsburgh. And one of my personal favorite restaurants was a little Puerto Rican restaurant down the street. And they always had these awesome tacos. And ironically enough, it had just about everything here except for sweet potatoes on them. And I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and take this and turn it up a little bit and make it a little bit nicer. So I was like, mole, and here we go. So yeah.
Awesome. So for those that aren't familiar with mole, what is mole?
So essentially, it's a smoky, chocolatey, peppery, tomato-based sauce. With this one, I use guajillo peppers and roasted poblanos. A little bit of vinegar in it, which inherently comes off a little bit kind of bitter to it. So the chocolate actually worked out really well. And thankfully, one of my cooks, well, actually one of the other managers, had a bunch of Hershey Kisses sitting around. So we don't have milk chocolate. So that was perfect for getting rid of all that nice bitterness.
Awesome. All right. So you started with your sauce. What was your next thought process? What's the next component you worked with?
The beef, obviously, it's a great one. I actually had a friend of mine from 11 Oaks Farm. He donated a really, really nice sirloin steak, my top one. So I was pretty happy about that. So all I did was I wet rubbed it with a bunch of everything from chipotles to roasted chilies, sous vide it to 90 degrees. And then we actually have a 1700-degree broiler for our steakhouse. And then about 4 minutes flat, that thing was nice, medium rare, ready to go. So
Awesome.
and after that was the fun part. Probably when I was about 26 and living in the sticks of nowhere, I was introduced to something called Mofongo. And I was like, this is kind of fun. So I was like, sweet potatoes in Spanish doesn't make sense. So then I just mashed together some steamed plantains and sweet potatoes, put some chicharrones in it and some bacon. And I actually was kind of surprised with how good it was. So it's a fun twist on Mofongo.
Very
And Daikon, I'll say Daikon, not to interrupt you, but wait, there's more. It's quite the essential to anything in that category of food for me, whether it be raw, pickled, or in a slaw or what have you. So did a little bit of everything. So I ended up pickling the Daikon, putting in with onions, shallots, scallions, red bean sorrel, and mosh, and turned that kind of into a fun little coriander lime salad on top. So
one ingredient you just mentioned was mosh. A lot of people might not be familiar with that. What is that?
So trying to think like a really easy way to explain it. We get them in like still alive. This little tiny green leafy, doesn't really bring too much. It's kind of herbal. Yeah.
I think lamb's lettuce has it been called before? Sounds something familiar. Yes, just very, very, very subtle, but you don't hear it very often. So I just wanted to bring that up. And 11 Oaks, you said that they donated. So I certainly wanted to give, a moment here. Where is 11 Oaks located?
11 Oaks is actually located in a town called Newburgh, which is about 45 minutes south of Harrisburg, which is where I'm at. They specialize in American-raised Wagyu cattle. So if you're interested in all that stuff, you can buy stuff right off their website and they deliver. Not to sound like a spokesman, but hey.
Hey, but thank you for giving them props. That's awesome that they participated and sponsored, provided you the beef to cook with this too. Definitely. Awesome. Thank you. All right, Chef, are we ready for a reveal? So you can show us what you made. You ready for it?
I'm always ready. Let's go.
Okay. Here we go. That looks nice. Exceptional. So Chef, tell us each of you said a whole lot of words. And in the box, in the chat box, we have a whole lot of wows too for you. So what is each of these components? I can tell what the beef is. I can tell some of them. Explain to us what you did here.
So if you're going to look at it from the outside looking in, you're going to see the little swoops and dots, as I'm going to call them, on the outside. That would be the mole. You kind of get like that dark, comes off like reddish, and then you add in the chocolate. Like I said, I started with a little bit of dark. I used a little bit of cocoa nib, but it was still really bitter. And added some milk chocolate. That's why I got like that nice foggy orange goodness. The big pile that kind of looks like mashed potatoes is not mashed potatoes. It's actually the mofongo, which essentially I use a pestle and mortar every time I've ever made it. So I didn't treat the sweet potatoes any different. Came out just the same. You got a little 10-ounce piece of steak in the middle. On top of that, you have the pickled Daikon salad. Yeah, it's a pretty good shot.
That looks awesome, Chef. And again, nice presentation, looks great. Wow, lots of great comments coming in the chat here. So you took on the challenge. Was there, I mean, if you had to do it, well, if you had to do it again, if you did it again, if you volunteered again and you had these same 4 ingredients, would you go in a different route? I know this was really drawing for you, but was there anything you'd do different if you did it again?
Nah, I don't think so. I was pretty happy with it. I'd probably dabble more Cuban than anything.
And I think from the moment you mentioned it, I could tell that you were really, you know, even though you may not have put these 4 ingredients together yourself, it's the way that the plate came together. You're really excited to present it. So thank you so much, Chef. Very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our next participant. We have Chef Claire Dacko joining us from Dauphin County Technical School. And Chef has seen a few of these different presentations done, you know, experienced it throughout the chapter here, but this is the first time you're taking it on, Chef, and thank you so much for that.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so what was your initial reaction when you saw the 4 ingredients that you had to put together?
So I think my initial reaction, different from Chef John and similar to Rasheeda, was I was a little thrown by the chocolate, I'm going to be honest. And I think, you know, as someone who my career has been really as a savory chef, right? So I think that I really had to kind of push myself out of my comfort zone in that way. And I started thinking about the individual ingredients and really their main flavor bases and really trying to find balance in my overall dish. So the chocolate was where I started, really.
All right. So, and where did that chocolate, I mean, where did that start steering you?
It's funny because listening to Chef John, I also went initially in the first direction. I started thinking about mole, and specifically, you know, that really kind of earthy, really complex sauce that we get that really nice bitter, kind of bittersweet, again, really complex flavor from. But then I really kind of wanted to push myself to do something a little bit different. And when I started looking at the other ingredients, primarily, especially the Daikon radish, I started thinking about that as a pickled component, and you know, seeing that on top of, again, tacos and things like that, which pushed me to also think about Korean food, because a lot of times one of my favorite things is banchan, the little you know, pickles and kind of condiments that you get alongside traditional Korean barbecue, and Daikon's a big part of that. So then I really just was kind of bouncing all over the place. I really was. And how do I bring all of these different flavor balances together in one dish? It threw me for a little bit. I had to think about it for a little while.
Awesome. So the next slide is going to show pictures and show your complete dish. So let's
Absolutely.
go a bit more, before we do though, let's go a little bit more through your thought process. So you had the chocolate, you thought of the sauce, you had the sweet potatoes. I don't think we've mentioned the sweet potatoes.
Next to the chocolate, I think the sweet potatoes were probably the most challenging, but also the most intriguing, because I really, again, wanted to kind of do that in a different way. In all honesty, sweet potatoes and I have a love-hate relationship. I think I grew up with them only being presented as a baked sweet potato, as Chef Rasheeda referred to, you know, and always, like, you know, piled up with butter and brown sugar. And for me, that never really resonated with me. It was just not something that I loved. And only in recent years, I think, as I've developed my career and experienced food in different ways, especially with sweet potatoes, I think that I've started to like them in a different way because I've had them prepared outside of that kind of comfort zone. So I really challenged myself to do something different with them and make them almost the star of this a little bit.
Okay. So let's go ahead and jump to the next one, and you can dive in.
Sure.
What you made.
What are we talking about here?
I'm going to just keep taking you down that path. I know this is awesome. So there's a lot to look at here. So
there is a lot to look at here. And so I did this at home. I did this with my family, actually over the Thanksgiving break. And we had a lot of fun with it. I have 2 young kids. So similar to Chef Rasheeda, we really kind of spent a day in the kitchen, and they helped me with a lot of this. And they are sometimes my biggest critics. They are, and they're the product of two chefs. My husband's a chef, so they're big foodies, my kids. So I did test this out on them, but they also help with the whole thing. So what I came up with was, instead of doing a traditional mole, I really tried to kind of fuse the idea of the Korean taco and kind of take it in a different direction, kind of inspired by Roy Choi and the whole, Koji Korean taco truck thing that has been, blowing up for the last decade. I really wanted to kind of create something new while honoring some of the traditional ingredients, and really kind of thinking about, again, the balance of flavors. When we talk about mole, we again, the bitterness of the chocolate and the sweetness of the fruit and the earthiness of the chilies. There's a lot of that in traditional Korean barbecue flavors as well. So I tried to kind of look at those things and kind of see how I could merge those together. And I was not sure if it was going to work. And I'm happy to report it kind of did come out pretty good. I was pleased with it. So the ingredients that I put together were mainly focused on the marinade for the beef. So with Korean barbecue, there's a lot of ginger and garlic, but there's also some sweetness and some chili coming from brown sugar and soy and sesame oil and those types of things. And then with the mole, again, I tried to incorporate some of the heat from the chilies, the bitterness from the dark chocolate, and then really kind of bring that all together with pumpkin seeds and sesame seeds together. So I made this really kind of funky marinade, cooked a lot of that down together, and then added, I guess, the more traditional Korean barbecue ingredients at the end, and marinated the beef that way. So that's kind of where that Korean mole came from. And I'm probably really not doing either of those two cuisines the best service I can, but I was pleased with how it came out. I was. So
I think that sounds incredibly interesting. Just as you're going through the ingredients, and then it's kind of a crazy marinade. It sounds like
it was a crazy marinade. Yeah, definitely outside of my comfort zone for sure. But that's what this was about. It was a challenge. Yeah.
Good. So what was the next? I see sweet potatoes.
So I took the sweet potato and I baked the sweet potato, just simply mashed it. And I kind of played around with a couple different ideas. I originally was just going to go straight sweet potato with maybe even just an AP flour to create my tortilla. But I really love the sweetness of corn and masa flour. And I thought those two things would merge together. And luckily it did work out very well. So I almost did like a hybrid of the mashed sweet potato with a traditional masa tortilla. And so I made the mix from scratch, and we pressed the tortillas and made them in the pan. And that really created almost like a more tender traditional flour or corn tortilla. But it definitely had the color, which I loved from the sweet potatoes, and also that natural sweetness that kind of balanced off the corn. So that was really interesting too.
Did the sweet potato flavor really pull through?
You know what, it did, more so than I thought it did. I did about a 50-50 ratio of the corn flour, the masa harina, and the sweet potato, and it actually came through in a savory but sweet way that I was pleased with. Yeah.
Great. All right, next I see you have pickled vegetables.
Yeah, so this is where I incorporated the daikon. Again, thinking about the traditional Korean pickled vegetable, and also like that, pickled vegetable that you often find on top of a traditional Mexican taco. And so with this, I did, I guess, more of a hybrid again with some carrot and some cucumber, the daikon radish, sugar, some rice wine vinegar. I'm trying to rattle all this off the top of my head. I believe that's it. Pretty simple pickled, cold pickle that I did, and let that kind of stay crispy and crunchy to give some texture to the finished dish.
So for someone that hasn't pickled vegetables before, what's a quick pickling method?
So you're going to laugh at how I do this at home. Actually, I actually heated up the liquid in the microwave and poured it over my really thinly sliced vegetables, and then kind of let them chill in the fridge so that they're keeping that, again, that crunch of the vegetable. I didn't want to lose that texture, but I'm getting that kind of pickle flavor pretty quickly and easily, so that, I could use it that same day.
Awesome. So just the hot liquid infusing into that, those thin vegetables. Right?
Exactly.
So caramelized kimchi is next.
Yeah, so I love kimchi, and for those of you that don't know what maybe kimchi is, it's fermented cabbage, and it's very traditional, very important part of Korean cuisine. And so I love it. We keep it in my house all the time. We eat it all, like, I don't know, for pretty much with a lot of our meals, especially anything involving rice, I have it on the side. But it's very, very strong. And that's a good thing, but I didn't want it to overpower the other things, especially because my mole was really kind of out there and kind of crazy. So I caramelized it in a pan, sprinkled it with a little sugar and some sesame oil, and just kind of cooked it down to kind of take off some of the maybe stronger fermented flavor of the kimchi. And that really, again, worked with the sweetness of the sweet potato and some of the other flavors that were already in my beef marinade. So.
Okay, and then I see your last two components there, the mayo and...
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of give put a sauce on this that would complement the mole, but not, again, overshadow the mole. So I used some Korean gochujang, which is very similar to, a lot of people are familiar with sriracha, so it's more of a sweeter chili paste or chili sauce. And so I paired that with a little bit of lime to, again, give some acidity and the creaminess of the mayo. I used a Japanese mayo, Kewpie mayo, which is, really kind of creamy and rich to kind of, again, balance with all those different flavors that we had going on.
And then the crispy cocoa dusted sweet potato fries.
Right. So I kind of was thinking I wanted to feature that sweet potato a second way. I wanted to get a different texture going in there. I had a lot of soft texture, the tender meat that I marinated for several hours. So I really just simply julienned the sweet potato and matchsticks on a mandolin. And then for some reason, I came up with the idea of the cocoa dusted part. And actually, I mixed that with some tahine, which is a really delicious spice mixture, Mexican spice, which has, a lot of chili and a lot of lime already going on in it. So it was like that bitter lime, salty, chili thing going on to kind of bring the flavors of the mole out in a different way. Again, just a balance was really what I was going for.
I gotta say, it sounds like that this just punched flavor. It just exploded with flavor. So, to hear you say how you balance things, I'm sure the students watching that, how did you think, and you explained it so well, I wanted this texture, I wanted this, I added this to do and balance with this, but it sounded like a lot of what you did was just, let me try this, and wow, that actually turned out pretty cool.
I think that's true. And I think that's a lot of what we do as chefs. I think we often, it's a little bit of experimentation, a little bit of, experience, certainly, and knowing what works and what doesn't. And also sometimes using some restraint to know, I often get like these big ideas, and then I got to sit on it for a little while. I got to think about it. I got to really, almost taste it in my mind. That sounds so silly, but figure out, does this actually go together? And then as I'm going, kind of making, some changes, and that's really what we do in restaurants too when we're developing menus and writing any recipes, is thinking about texture and flavor and color and again, balance of all those things, so that we're bringing that that product to the best place it can be, because that's creativity, really. So.
Okay. Hey, before we get to the next slide, just so you've already got the outstanding menu selections. The wows are coming as well.
Thanks, guys.
Why don't we see what your plate looks like? Because we've got a lot
Sure.
of here. How does it come together?
So when I made this with my family, again, I have young kids. So a lot of what we do at home when we cook, I like to involve them, and they're actually really adventurous eaters. So they gobbled this up. But part of what I do at home, at least, is make your own, creation kind of thing. So if I put out these different components, the tortillas and the pickles and the, the little toppings and things like that, my kids tend to eat more and they can tend to try things differently. So at home, that's really the kind of way I approach things. In a restaurant, however, I think it's almost our job to kind of guide our customers, our guests, to see our vision as an end product. So really, I just plated this very simply, the same way you would a traditional taco. So this is certainly maybe not fine dining, but it could be an appetizer or something like that on a restaurant menu. But food doesn't have to be fancy to be good, right? So I think when we do these things at home, sometimes maybe I also think maybe I should be incorporating some of this in a restaurant, that kind of create your own adventure kind of thing is fun sometimes for guests. It's an experience. So
This is awesome, Chef.
thank you.
Track already. I love that, Chef. Beautiful. It looks amazing, Chef Dacko. I love it. It looks so good. Chef Dacko, so proud to call you my teacher.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks.
Many great comments for you. That's awesome. And I love that middle picture there of, and the idea that you get to build your own, but you're right, to see what our vision is and kind of to, try it that way, but then to have, I like that you presented it both ways so that you could see the components and hearing that. I'm very envious that they're good eaters. I'm very envious.
Your kids aren't good eaters? Oh, I have to imagine them.
But if it's fun, if they make it
right.
It's like, I love how you're adapting to your audience and you're creating more of a dining experience than just here's what we made and eating that. This looks awesome. Would you do something different?
You know what, when I wrote down, I kind of hand wrote the recipe, which is not something I typically do. I like to have my ducks in a row. I tweaked it as I went. And after I tasted, I actually went back and looked at it. The only thing I really came up with at the end is I wanted some of the Korean flavor to come through a little bit more, maybe a little bit more sesame oil, a little bit more ginger and garlic. And one of the things I actually changed when I rewrote it was adding the garlic and the ginger at the end to the marinade raw after I'd cooled everything else down and, cooked the chili and cooked the chocolate and all of that. I would think that maybe adding those at the end, the flavors wouldn't be as muted on some of those things to kind of pull that out. And that was really one of the biggest changes I made. And I think overall, I was really pleased with it. My son, who was, again, one of my biggest critics, was like, we can make this every week. So similar to Chef Rasheeda, at least in my house, it was a home run.
Awesome. It looks great. And the only downside, and I definitely agree with Ania, I think it is, that I didn't get to try it. The downside of this competition is that we don't get to try it.
Yeah, right. On the real chopped competitions, right, they're always getting to try and kind of explain. The judges are often explaining, what this and why these things go well together. So it's always nice to have other people's opinions as chefs. It really is. It helps you grow. It helps you expand, and that constructive critique is always beneficial. I think it makes us better, and we're always growing no matter where we are. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking on the challenge.
Thanks, Chef.
A request as well for recipes, and I know we have some. We'll be uploading, but clearly I would just say from all four of you, if there's any recipes that you can share, certainly those that are joining us are definitely looking for it. So thank you so much, Chef. Again, very, very awesome. I'm hoping if there's any other questions, again, and maybe recapping at the end for any, feedback on each other's dishes, certainly. So thank you, Chef.
Thanks.
We have next up our fourth participant. We have Chef Brandon Mullins, who again is part of the amazing culinary team at the Circular Dining Room at the Hotel Hershey. And I believe I saw he was here with us. There you are, Brandon.
Yep, and I made him co-host, so he can unmute.
Okay. So Brandon, what we've done, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Thank you. So we are, before we go into any slides of, here's your pictures or here's what items you put together, we first want to know what was your thoughts. Now, you were there, you volunteered. So, but what was your thoughts when you heard the four ingredients, the beef, the sweet potatoes, the daikon, the chocolate? What was your initial reaction to that?
Well, my initial reaction was, what, chocolate? That's kind of crazy. And then my next reaction was, well, okay, I can see this being a good chance to, flex that culinary muscle, that creative muscle. So I took it, and hopefully, and as you'll see here, I put a lot of love into it, and I had a ton of fun doing it.
Awesome. It's interesting everybody said the chocolate. For me personally, the Daikon was like, oh, I'm not sure how to, that would have been the kicker for me, but everyone said that chocolate either challenged or intrigued, or everyone focused on the chocolate first. You know, that was kind of interesting just to pull all four of you. So what after, so you thought about okay, so the chocolate, but what was your, how do you decide which direction to go? What was your first, I need to make this, or I want to make this, or what was your first kind of definitive part of your dish?
Well, we're swinging around to winter season now. We're in full swing rather at this point. So that was my first thought. I wanted fresh ingredients. I wanted it to be in season. So that's what I felt like didn't pose a challenge with the sweet potato or the daikon radish, because daikon, beautiful winter radish, a lot of stuff you can do with it. Sweet potato is beautiful. Everybody loves sweet potatoes. But and then I wanted to keep it more of a modern French theme, in line with where I'm currently working, circular. I wanted to keep it upscale and just fresh and beautiful. I wanted it to be a work of art.
Awesome. Well, why don't we go to the next slide and you can walk us through all of your components. This isn't going to show you finished plate yet, but we have the description up on the left there. But why don't you walk us through all of the different components you made and how you did it?
Of course. Started out with the meat because in my head that was the easiest. I knew I wanted to go with a sous vide petite sirloin. So that's that bottom left picture there. Cryovac it, threw some aromatics in there, thyme, garlic, butter, sous vide it through, and it came out beautifully, buttery smooth. I love sirloin steak, so after searing it in that pan, getting that flavor, it was really, it came out beautifully. And then for the veg, yes, ma'am.
I could interrupt real quick. I'm sorry. John had mentioned also sous vide. For those students that aren't familiar, what do you mean by sous vide? So you cryovac'd it in that bag. How did you cook it?
So sous vide technique is to lightly poach in a sealed bag in a circulated hot temperature controlled water. So we have a special machine. It's a sous vide machine, immersion circulator, whatever you want to call it. And then you can set the temperature. I use it a lot for steaks because you can get a perfect 125-degree mid-rare steak every single time if you go and reverse sear that. And there's many advantages to using a sous vide, and that's just one of them. But it's my favorite technique for fine dining meats.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just thought maybe someone would have that question. All right.
No, that's totally fine. I tried to incorporate as many more high scale techniques into this dish as I could. I really wanted to demonstrate what we do not only in the circular but in the hotel is in general. So moving on to our veg. So other than our sweet potato and daikon radish, I went with charred heirloom carrots and confit parsnips to kind of round out the dish. Really bring all those flavors around into that winter theme, like I said. The daikon radish, I went for I put it in a slaw. I think I saw a couple other contestants also put it in the slaw, so we're thinking along the same vein here. But I went with the daikon radish, the carrot, and green cabbage, and I tossed that all together with a herbed maple vinaigrette. I wanted that maple to really balance out more of the bitter or harsh flavors of the daikon radish, but once it's all been tossed, it leads to a very crisp, flavorful slaw that blended well with transitioning into our sweet potato puree. I chose to incorporate the sweet potato into a puree. I know based on experience and doing it multiple times to get a very buttery smooth, silky sweet potato puree, and I wanted to show that off. Not only that, it serves as a great base to put your garnish, put the rest of your veg, and as you'll see, a wonderful color contrast on the plate. And then finally, just the confit parsnips, nice oblique parsnip poached really lightly in garlic, thyme, and oil. And then the scraps from that went into a parsnip puree, which just further served to garnish the plate, round out those flavors, give a sense of completeness.
Wow. And that's the epitome of mise en place there. Here's all these components and ready to go. So your next slide is going to be your plate. When you're ready for it, we'll do our reveal.
Let's go ahead.
All right. That looks great. I especially like you trying it. That's the best.
You gotta try it. If you make it, you gotta try it. And I'm very against wasting food. So everything made was either eaten or put into separate projects. Yeah, I'm very proud of the plate. More of a, like I said, a modern French plating, a big swoosh of that sweet potato puree with the veg. I want it to be like almost a root cellar type feel. And then you see the meat there, wonderful. The chocolate, I almost forgot, went into our wonderful veal demi-glace. Very flavorful. We butter out all our sauces. Nothing on the plate fell. We cut the carrot. I sous vide the carrots to perfect tenderness. They weren't mush. They didn't fall down. Stood straight. A wonderful al dente. But
That's awesome, Chef. Definitely awesome. And I was just beside myself. I totally forgot about the chocolate myself. So a chocolate demi instead of, because we had the chocolate mole, we've had a chocolate barbecue sauce. So everybody used chocolate in their sauce, which I think I probably would have too, thinking that to be where that or the cocoa powder would have been my other draw there.
I managed to catch the cocoa powder, and that it looked really good. I chose to go with a very, very dark German chocolate, 68% cacao. I wanted more of those bittersweet flavors to again flow with the sweet potato puree and just the rest of the dish. And it served to finish the sauce very well. It thickened nicely, didn't seize up. As you can see, some of these pictures, wonderful mirror finish. So I'm really proud of it, and it was a fun challenge.
Awesome. So would you do anything different?
I definitely need more to the slaw. I was underwhelmed with its impact on the plate while I was eating it. I think I needed to switch out the green cabbage for Brussels sprouts, and I needed to incorporate a different texture because it was just all crunch.
It's good. It's good criticism of yourself. Yeah, because I was sitting there looking also as to where it is, and so it's nice to always look at this of how can we do better. And I think that's a big thing for students to take is we're not always 100% happy with our finished product. We're happy with what we have to put in front, but you can always do something different, always something better. So I also got in the chat, some of your coworkers didn't get a plate or they didn't get to try any. So just as a heads up to you, lots of love it, wow. And I know you saw the question there, did anything fall down there? And Brandon, excellent plate presentation, definitely good remarks. So thank you so much for taking on the challenge. And that's what this is all about is learning and seeing how different individuals, what flavors they use, what different components they put together using those same ingredients. So Hope, if we can go to the next slide, let's show all 4 plates together. Completely different plates, but yet we had a lot of similarities. What I want to do is take a few minutes and open up for our participants for any of the, any feedback, comments you'd like to give each other. And Rasheeda, certainly, I always like to start with you. I know that always puts you on the spot as well, but this again was something you came up with originally, and Hope, actually, if we can stay on, yeah, that'd be great. Rasheeda, what was your thoughts? Could you give your feedback, comments to each of the chefs here on their plates?
When I saw these finished dishes, I was very impressed, and I said, wow, they did so much better than I did. And I was like, they did better than I did. They look great. I was impressed with Chef Claire on how she took the sweet potato and she really transformed it, and she actually made the tortilla. And I said, it never crossed my mind, but it looked like it worked. And when it came to Chef John, his Mofongo, I had just tried that a couple weeks ago, and I was like, wow, to take that sweet potato and just use it in there. And I sweet potato, we think of common things with it. And even after this challenge, I had some sweet potatoes left over. Instead of putting potato in my soup, I said, I'm just going to put these sweet potatoes in there, and it worked out fine. And when it came to Brandon's, I was just like, wow, it's good enough to be on a cover of a magazine or something. And I like the way he presented the carrots and everything. It just made it look so good. It gave it height and everything. But I was really impressed, and I just want to say thank you all for taking on the challenge.
Awesome. Thank you, Rasheeda. John, any comments on all the plates here?
Well, I think they all look awesome. If you want me to be honest with you, it's really nice to see like each individual person's kind of heart and soul on a plate. It's always fun to really see how they think. I think it's funny. I think the one who said she's not happy with her plating looks really great to me. I think Rasheeda looks awesome. They all honestly make me hungry. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of them. Everything from homey, feel-good, warm tacos to highlighting the fall/winter season vegetable with vegetables from Brandon's plate. I think it's really fun. It's really nice to see the inspiration that's around the area, and it's motivating for a lot of people. So hopefully a lot of the right people are watching. I think everybody did an awesome job. It's been great to be part of something again.
I agree. And thank you so much for being a part of it. Yeah, this was, all of you have different styles, but again, it was the plating, everything, the same 4 ingredients, and we have completely different things that are all inspiring. And yes, very disappointing that we're not eating any of them. But Chef Dacko, what was your thoughts here on everyone's plates?
I'm going to echo what everybody else said. I just think it's really amazing how we all started with 4 ingredients and we're coming up with 4 completely different concepts. And that just makes me inspired. It really does. It's exciting to push yourself, but it's also exciting to see, as John just said, what your peers are doing. And that just makes you want to do better for your own, whatever job you're in, or your even just whatever passion you have in terms of cooking. And I think that the highlight of the ingredients is that the artistry is on the plate, but it's also just pushing all of us to be at the best chefs we can be. And we are, again, I keep going back to, like, we're always growing. And if you stop growing and stop, trying to do your best, then really, what are you doing anymore? So this is exciting. It really is. I was really glad to be a part of this. So thank you.
Thank you. It's exciting to hear the passion we all have. That this was fun. This wasn't a stressful, that you enjoyed cooking. And I think that's what it's all about for all of us, is we enjoy cooking and we enjoy making other people happy and sharing how we go about doing that. So this was awesome. Brandon, what are your thoughts now that you see all the plates here together?
Yeah, like everyone else said, just all the plates are really inspiring. Rasheed did say, you weren't too happy with your plating. It's not about the plating at the end of the day. Flavor comes first always, but keep working at it. Just that experience comes with time. I loved John's dish. I saw it and I was like, wow, that meat is so colorful, so vibrant. I loved it. That was awesome. And then to see that Claire Dacko went with tacos. And it's awesome to see that all these talented chefs and are all within an hour's drive of like, we're all nearby, we're all close to each other, and to see that we got such different results it's awesome. It's inspiring. But I had a lot of fun. Big thanks to, again, the Hotel Hershey team for allowing me to do this after my shift, and use their kitchen, use their lighting, all that good stuff. And I thank the ACF for letting me participate in this.
Absolutely. And again, thank you all for participating. And that was one of the questions in the chat. How do I get to volunteer? So we had our meeting, we mentioned it. Brandon said, I'll do it. So-and-so, I'll do it. It's, well, clearly we're all sitting here, but that's how you get to do it. You volunteer. And really that's the hardest step, is volunteering for something that it puts you outside your comfort zone. And I think all of you, yes, brought exactly what students are looking for. How do I take this? What was your thought process? What did you put together? A couple other things in the chat just to make sure I don't lose track of all of it here. Again, how did it? I'm sorry, I'm saying the exact same thing here. Brandon, excellent plate presentation. Great job to all the participants. Woo, again. Good job, everyone. Great job, everyone. You're all amazing. Good job. Tip of the toque to all 4 participants. Outstanding. Thanks for having us all. Great job to everyone. Your creative minds went to work. Again, thank you for doing this. The plates all look awesome. Nothing but positive here coming in. This was great. And this is something we like to continue. We've also found that this is something that is more Zoom relatable, because getting in person, we really, I feel like in person, you expect to taste the food. And that was something that we found bringing it to Zoom. That's how we could get that excitement, and it leaves you wanting more because you're not actually trying it. And this is a great way for us to just bring a lot of different people together. So I thank you all. Hope I'm gonna let you wrap us up here, but thank you all for joining us. Thank you again to all the participants as well. This was definitely awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Autumn. And, thank you for inviting us on this journey with you, because I love the things that we've been doing with the ACF Harrisburg chapter. We've grown the partnership even more, from just being at events to now doing some things where we're sharing each other's content back and forth. One thing that we wanted to just, remind everyone is, the students do have free membership, and they can be part of our chapters and our organizations. You can go to our website at www.PRLA.org. I am the Director of Education at the Restaurant Association. Or go to ACF and go to the acfharrisburg.com website and be a part of both of our organizations, because I think this is a good way for you. This is great for you to grow, networking, meeting all new different people from all around the state, through our association and through your association with the ACF. We're excited to keep growing this and maybe hosting another one. And I'm sorry I went through all those. I got off track. I don't know, my tracker ball was all off track. And one thing we didn't add on here, and I'm sorry, Chef, but she is going to be, Chef Patty has been doing an amazing job for the farm show coming up in January, and she has organized an incredible lineup. We will make sure to share this, because we have recorded this this whole webinar. We'll be sharing this, and we'll make sure that that is included in there. So please check out the students. They're coming from, what is Cumberland Perry, from Dauphin?
Absolutely. So the PE Preferred Culinary Connection stage at the PE Farm Show this year, we have students from Pennsylvania College of Technology coming for opening weekend. We have the students from Dauphin County Technical School with Claire Dacko on Wednesday, Beef and Veal Day. I believe on the morning news, she's doing a demo, and the students are doing a mystery box competition as well. On Friday, we have Chef Miller and the students from Cumberland Perry Area Vocational School that picked out the ingredients. They're going to be featured on Friday with the cooking competition. And then of course, HACC, again, Harrisburg Area Community College, Central Pennsylvania's most phenomenal community college, will be there on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So we have a lot of schools that are supporting each day's demonstrations, both in handing out and preparing samples, as well as on stage and working with the chefs. It's a great way to bring as many students together as we can in Central Pennsylvania. So that's January 5th, January 8th through the 15th.
And I see that Kendra Hepler just put into the chat the PDF so that you can click on that and download it so that you don't miss anything. I think it's going to be great for the farm show to be back in person and great to see the students and the chefs all performing. So we're excited. And with that, thank you to everyone. Everybody's probably so hungry after all of this, all these plates of food. So we really appreciate you joining us today. And thank you so much to the chefs and to Chef Patty for all the work, and Rasheeda for this great, great idea that you put together during COVID, during the times we were on Zoom. So, all right, great. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.